Welcome to Sasquatch Talk. My name's Bradley Valentine. I'm joined here with Dan Adams. It says Benjamin Adams on your screen, but it's actually Dan.
I didn't change the login.
And we got Troy Miller as well. We are the three owners of Sasquatch Gun Oil. Get yours at sasquatchgunoil.org. But today we have episode 10. We're talking a little bit about media biases and how they influence us and what to believe. Before we get there, we kind of wanted to address what we talked about last week, which was gold skyrocketing. And I'll throw it back to you, Troy. Did you look at gold prices in the last couple days?
I saw that it tanked. I haven't checked the price since Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
Didn't it get back below 5,000, close to 5,000?
Yeah.
I think it responded to the new selection for the Federal Reserve Chairman.
Yeah. Kevin Warsh is the new Fed chairman.
That's his name. Yeah. I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, that's what they said. It dropped with the Fed chairman, but it started dropping a little bit before that. So we'll see. But Dan, you and I were talking about it. Any thoughts on the 13% drop of gold?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to look back through and see the most radical percentage changes of gold. I know that we briefly talked about, was it 13% US dollars versus 13% US francs? It was different, but we talked about how it was plus or minus 1 to 2%, and then how overall the gold price through the years it only has about a 1% variance.
Yeah.
My deep-seated conspiracy mindset says there's something there. But when you look at it, conspiracy-wise, you could always make a case for something out of nothing. And I think that accounts for probably well over 50% of conspiracy theories. But that leaves 50% out there that could have something going on.
So 50% of that 1% variance is something of nothing. I see what you're saying.
That's right. That's a good segue into what we're talking about today.
But anyways, as gold goes, this is by no means a financial podcast. Our goal last week was to just kind of talk about the American currency and what's happened and how we look at it as kind of regular guys. But it dropped 13%. It was, Troy, to answer your question, it was up to around $5,400 at its peak. And then it dropped to $4,600.
I saw that.
Yeah. So dropped quite a bit. And it just goes to show what causes gold to go up and down is supply and demand, just like the stock market. So my thoughts are gold was going up based on the economy, based on things going on, and people kept buying it and buying it and buying it. So the more demand you have, the higher the price. And then people realize hey, I have all this gold, I'm gonna sell it, so if the gold is at a very high price, I'm gonna sell it. So anyone who bought gold at 5,300 is now holding on to gold at 4,600. It'll go back up, but it's just like the stock market.
Yeah.
So, when you buy things based on people's emotions, you lose money pretty quickly. What were you going to say?
Now's the time to buy.
To your point, though, Brad, if in December of 23 you had decided now's my time to get into gold at, 1789 or 1800.
Yeah.
For the spot price, right?
Sure.
You wouldn't care if it was down to $4.96 today.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay,
yeah,
$3
more than doubled my money.
Right.
Yeah.
At that point, it's tripled.
Yeah.
So, do you think it'll ever get down to that price again, 1,800 an ounce?
Jeez, I don't think so. I mean,
I don't think so either.
Well, that depends on a lot of different things, including what what news media you watch, you know.
Huh.
But that's something I was trying to figure out. I was trying to look at the all, but my stupid thumb is too big to
It's at
click
an
on
all-time
the
high.
all tab for this dumb gold thing.
I don't think
um,
so. I that would be like if it dropped to $1,800, something weird is going on with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
economy.
something
Like
drastic happened.
something has to offset the price because gold usually is inverse to inflation. So like the worse the dollar's doing, the better gold is doing. So I would wonder if gold drops that much, like maybe the American economy is booming crazy and the dollar
that's what I was
has
gonna say.
amazing
Maybe that
worth.
means we got Greenland and we got all
Yeah,
those rare
yeah,
earth minerals.
yeah. So something crazy would have to happen, and maybe that would be a good thing. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah,
But
or maybe just a sign of the times.
yeah. But let's get back to our topic on hand. And this conversation kind of came up after our last podcast when we were talking because we're just talking about like the way we are told things, and we talked quickly about ice and everything in Minnesota and Alex Preddy, who is the guy who was a nurse who got shot by ice, and it came up with this there's a picture of Alex Preddy in his like nurse uniform.
Scrubs.
It's his nurse
Scrubs.
scrubs, and I'll show the picture here on screen. You can see it right here, and he looks like a normal dude, right? But then I'm scrolling down here. Then there's this picture, and it's all AI enhanced. His skin color is a little darker. His beard is thicker. His hair is a little bit better looking.
His face is
Yeah,
wider.
he
His
has
nose is not as nosy.
right. Yeah,
Nosy.
his head is a little more oval. His shoulders are a little thicker. He's just a better looking dude. And here's my thoughts, and I'll throw this out to you. Imagine that media, politicians, and celebrities. This is nothing against Alex Preddy. This is about the people who got Alex Preddy fired up to go outside. Imagine they tell you, go out there, fight, like F ICE. You go out there and you fight because in your head they're telling you these guys are Nazis, literally, right? You die for this cause that they tell you for the cause, and then they look at you and they say, ooh, you're not the way, you don't look the way we
Yeah,
want a
you're
martyr to
not
look.
pretty enough.
Yeah. So and I'll throw this out to you guys. Like, where am I wrong in saying that they got him fired up and they got him thinking that, and I hear people, politicians, media say that ICE is Gestapo, and then they said, you're not good looking enough, Alex Preddy. Like, this is someone's son, that died because they told him to go out there and fight. So I'll throw that's my thoughts. I'm not a sensationalist, but that's what gets me fired up. And I'll throw it to you, Dan. What do you think?
Well, when you think about things that get you I'll say inspired
Uh-huh.
enough to action, right? Which, let's be honest, there's only like a handful of things that gets anybody inspired to movement, right? To gather together and say, hey, do you agree with this or disagree? How about you? And you're going to ask more than 5 people, because by the 5th person, you probably have something going on later that day. And you're going to like move things around, not go to your job. And now this is the part of the story that really struck me as different. So he's been a life-saving person for a while, right? He's been in the business of keeping people from dying, right? That's what nurses do. They assist in getting you vital,
Right.
life-saving things, hydration through IV if that's what you need. They can intubate you, right? They can stop bleeding. They can dress wounds, right? Now, me as a mechanic, if I go out somewhere, I'm usually prepared to help someone, right? That's seeing a family or someone, whether it be an elderly person or a young person that maybe doesn't have the right knowledge to fix something. to help. I'm usually prepared to help someone fix something when I go out, right? Because I'm a mechanic by trade. It would be weird for me to go to a protest of something that I felt moved enough that I needed to pack a firearm and was it 3 or 4 extra magazines?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how many, but he definitely had
He
multiple.
had he had enough ammo that it looked like he was gearing up for, some sort of armed conflict.
Yeah.
Um, so let's say that I'm moved enough to go to whatever move. Let's say they're not going to let you fix your own car anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go say my piece, right?
Right.
Because I help people fix cars and I fix my own cars.
Yeah.
That would be something that would spur me to take a day off and go to the Capitol and be like, "You're wrong.
Yeah.
Not only are you wrong, but I'm gonna stand in your way."
Yeah.
Right? Um, but what I wouldn't do is pack my 45 and all my extra ammo,
Yeah.
because peacefully protesting is what we should do, right?
Yeah.
My firearm is protection,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, maybe, he feels like a lot of Americans feel, and if some is good, more is obviously better. So he was like, well, I don't want to run out of bullets
Yeah.
because that's what the gun does, right? So I'll just make sure I don't run out of bullets. Maybe that's the mindset.
Maybe.
Sadly, we can't ask him, right? But typically, and I have some friends, and Troy, your wife is in the medical field, and I know a lot of people in the medical field, their first thought is usually protection is 1 extra magazine, maybe 2, so you would have 3 in total, right? Just in case one malfunctions, you have a backup, but not more than 3, right? And that's just my call. I'm not him. I'm not trying to say that you can't have your own idea of protection or whatever, because that's what the ATF tries to do. But what I'm saying is your occupation, whatever you're going out there, if you're trying to help people, 11 days prior, you probably wouldn't be throwing stuff at police, right? And then show back up with more ammunition.
Right.
Right? That's not a peaceful protest. That's a riot.
Yeah.
Let's call these things what they are, which is what our whole segment is about today. It's not people. Mm-hmm. There is a propaganda war that's been waged on the American people.
Right.
And you brought up a good point in our chat. You shared that guy's video.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can link that or not, but that people have to understand we're in what is it? Election year's coming up, right?
Yeah.
Midterms.
Yeah.
Midterms, right? So who benefits more from people being wound up and thinking the other side is bad?
Right. Troy, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts?
Did you see the treatment that I don't know if it was CNN or MSNBC, but you saw how they doctored Alex Preddy. Well, did you see the treatment that they gave to Joe Rogan?
Yeah. Yeah. They did the opposite. They made him look yellow and sickly.
Made him look ugly. Yeah. So, they're willing to doctor images both for the good and for the bad, which is not.
Yeah, but why Dr. Joe Rogan? From all of this stuff, aside from getting wildly carried away, he pretty much just asks people questions about their whole thing.
Well,
right, and maybe
there is
a little
something
more leading
Troy,
to
do you
it.
Want to explain what happened?
I just saw the pictures. Okay. I'm not exactly sure what the context was.
I do know the context. So this was during COVID, and Joe Rogan was famously skeptical of the vaccines. So he recorded a video on his phone and said, I got COVID, so I went to my doctor. He gave me some medicine. He said ivermectin, and I haven't gotten the shot, but I'm already feeling better. So that was a video he recorded during COVID that he got COVID. And on CNN, they showed him and they made his face yellow and his eyes darker
Sick.
to make it look like, oh, look, he didn't get the vaccine. He's sick because of that. And then then they were like, ivermectin is horse dewormer. So they're like, he's this crazy psychopath who's taking horse dewormer. And I don't even watch Joe Rogan. Like, I the only full episode I've ever watched of Joe Rogan was Wes Huff, who's a Christian apologist. And the rest I've seen like random clips on YouTube or whatever, and I usually swipe away. Nothing for or against Joe Rogan, but I did see the clip when he was talking to Sanjay Gupta, who is like the CNN doctor medical advisor, and he was like, don't you think that there should be some accountability for what they did? And basically what they did was Joe Rogan didn't follow the media lines, so they made him look uglier. Alex Preddy did follow it, but they didn't think he looked good enough, so they made him look prettier. You know, so that goes along with your point of like, well, they're making one person look good, the other person look bad. It just depends on your point of view.
Which is all misleading. It's all fake.
Right. And that's the problem. Here's the thing. I like when we call people Nazis and Gestapo, you think that like the Nazis needed to die, right? Like we had to kill them to stop them. So when you call people Nazis, you get people thinking these people should be dead, right?
Yeah, they need to get killed.
And that's where it's like, that's what gets me fired up is like, I heard this argument. This guy was debating someone. Do you guys know who Michael Knowles is? He's a guy on the Daily Wire, conservative Catholic guy. And this guy said, like, people have said, like Charlie Kirk has said, that abortion is equivalent morally to the Holocaust because like 60 million babies have been aborted, 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. And Michael Knowles said, like death-wise, yeah, it's equivalent. It's actually 10 times more. And they're like, well, if in the Holocaust someone a Nazi was going to kill Jews, I would have the right to go kill that Nazi to stop him. So his point was trying to say, shouldn't, like, if you actually think it's the equivalent, shouldn't you go kill people who are about to have an abortion or doctors? That is the type of violent rhetoric that the media gives us that makes us think that way.
Yes.
And that's just, to me, that's out of hand. Like when you sit here and protest whatever, that's fine. But when it's the media who like reshapes our thoughts, it kind of gets out of hand. So I'll throw it back to you, Troy. What are you thinking?
No, you're right. So bringing up that Nazi thing. So during World War II in Nazi Germany, the Nazis were going around from person to person and forcing them to prove to the Nazis that they weren't Jewish.
Right.
If they couldn't prove that they were Jew, then they were assumed to be Jews and thrown in a concentration camp. Mm-hmm. Well, in Minneapolis, these people who are protesting are going around from person to person and forcing them to prove that they are not ICE agents.
Yeah.
And if they can't do that, then they start getting harassed like they are ICE agents. Mm-hmm. And all these people just swarm out of nowhere, blowing the sting whistle.
Yeah.
And those videos are so annoying, hearing those whistles nonstop. but they're accusing people of being Nazis when they themselves are the ones acting more similarly to how the Nazis acted during World War II.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even consider that. Yeah, I don't know, Danny. What are you thinking?
So there was this. You can read about it. There was. I forget the college. I should probably speak more intelligently on it when I have the names.
You mean all of
stuff.
the colleges?
Well, no, specifically one of them. They did a study with a group of students, and they like made them different than other students by inducting them into a group, right? And it was like the Wave or something like that. I should look it up real quick. Anyways, what I'm saying is, when even at concerts, even at like the Taste of Chicago, big gatherings of people, right? When they get together, and something starts to go sideways and people push, a weird thing triggers in this group mentality, animalistic trigger happens in people, and they innately just start pushing. Like
Yeah.
Black Friday, I'll call them riots. But when that gets out of hand and people get trampled at a store to get gifts for a holiday that's supposed to symbolize the birth of a savior who gave his life for people, right? Now they're killing each other to try to get $50 off on a 100-inch TV.
Yeah.
You know? My point is, they're calling these people Nazis, but then they're acting more like Nazis, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When you
like
look
what
at
Troy was saying.
when you look at the ICE agents, here's my issue. Immigration should be a legal issue. If I wanted to go to Australia, as an example, if I wanted to go to Australia, you have to apply for a work visa and you have to prove that your personal skills are going to benefit the country that you're going to.
Yeah.
That's the idea of immigrating. You possess knowledge of a trade or some kind of higher knowledge understanding that when you go there, you're going to socially add good to their current status.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to improve their country somehow. Right? Now, if we want to talk about refugee status, that's when you flee because your current place is so out of hand that you can no longer exist peaceably.
Yeah.
Right? With your family, you can't walk to the store and buy some food and get back home without getting shot at or mugged or trampled or run over or whatever demise it might be, right? So then you flee, making you a refugee.
Yeah.
Right? Not an immigrant.
Yeah.
The only time you get immigrant status is when you've brought a tangible asset to the place you were immigrating to. That's what makes you an immigrant, right? People are like, well, we wouldn't have this country without immigrants. You're right. And what did they do when they got here, right?
Yeah.
They built things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Right?
They
didn't come here and try to destroy it. They built things.
Yeah.
Right? You can make the case and argue that we destroyed the Indians, but if we look back, it was the government that tried to destroy the Indians, right? Via blankets and just shooting them.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to downplay death by any means, but any book that you read, death is a part of our society, and whether we fixate on it, or learn from it is our choice personally.
Sure. Troy,
and a lot of people don't like that because it puts it back on the people.
I was saying now, Dan, speaking about that refugee comment you just made, what if the country that these people are fleeing from doesn't actually exist?
What do you mean?
Palestine?
Oh,
The country of Palestine was never actually a legal country that ever existed. It was just a region. So these people who are fleeing, the Palestinians that are fleeing, they have that special refugee status through the UN.
Yeah.
And they're getting doled out a bunch of cash each month. But free Palestine is a concept that, I mean, it doesn't really exist because the country, you have to exist first to be free. But as far as the immigration thing, like Dan, you were talking about immigrating to Australia. What if the stuff that is happening in Minneapolis happened in communist China? How do you think the government would respond to those kinds of protests?
Oh,
I think we have a very famous picture. They just bring out tanks.
Yeah.
The Tiananmen Square incident. Yeah. You know the estimates of how many people were killed during that event?
Yeah.
It was like 10,000, I thought.
That was the minimum estimate. It could have been a lot higher. And they're complaining about 2 people interfering with law enforcement getting killed here. I mean, there could have been a lot of blood spilling if this happened in communist China.
So it just lets us know that ICE is not the Gestapo, because the
No,
Gestapo would
no.
just mow down
Yeah.
people.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And here's the thing. You go to China or Japan, but we'll stick with China. Guess what? Everyone looks like a Chinese person, you know?
Yeah.
And my point is that, like, you were talking about, like, refugees and Danny, about, like, people coming into our nation. The American people are very, very empathetic. And that brings up two things. Like, we hate injustice. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal or Christian or atheist. We hate to see people treated improperly, right?
Well, yeah. What's the last line of our Pledge of Allegiance that people don't want to say anymore?
What is
Right?
it?
And justice for all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
There's okay. So that's one point. Like, we hate injustice, right? We hate to see people treated poorly. Our empathy meters like shoot off when we see these things, you know? Even when we
Yeah.
first hear about it, whether you're liberal, conservative, for or against ICE, when you hear that, like, you hate it. So, like, even animals, most Americans, like, we treat animals better than any country in the world, right? We have laws to treat animals well. We just care a lot. But I'm not saying that we shouldn't, because I'm one of those people too. But I think that we look at this and we, like, you know, the give me you're tired, you're poor, you're hurdled masses. Do you guys know where that's from?
that's from the
Statue of
Bible.
Liberty, Ellis Island.
Statue of Liberty, right? That's from.
But it came from the Bible to be put on the Statue of Liberty. But yeah.
It came from a poem, but I don't think that exact phrasing is in the Bible. But if you watch, what is it, Lethal Weapon 4, I think, it's when there's like Chinese immigrants coming in, and I forget who says it, and he's like, "What about give me you're tired, you're poor, you're hurdled masses?" And the cop's like, "Actually, right now it just says like no entry admitted." Anyways, my point is, like, we are so empathetic that we think that give me you're tired, you're poor, you're hurdled masses is like part of like the Declaration of Independence or in the Constitution or something. That's a poem a guy wrote on a French statue that like a different country gave us, right? Like, we threw that on there and we said that's what we think. And the media plays off of our like over empathy, like our heavy empathy sensors. And like, we're all Christians here, and not saying everyone in our audience is, but Christians are highly empathetic too, right? You know, like the teachings of Jesus are highly empathetic. And that's how they get us. Like, they play on our empathy. Like, are you really going to let this happen? Like, drag kids from their parents? Did you guys see the picture or hear the story about the kid who was taken away from his parent and locked up because the ICE agents wanted to deport him? And then
Are you talking about the 5-year-old that was in the cage?
Yeah.
I don't think it was the one who was in a cage. That was a different one. But it was like ICE is detaining this little kid because his dad is illegal, when what really happened was ICE was going to get his dad. His dad ran away, abandoned his son. So ICE could either just leave this kid in the middle of the winter and walk away, or help take care of the kid. That's how they overuse our empathy sensors. I'll let you guys talk.
Well, to that point, they use kids a lot, right? I have kids. Yeah. I don't want to leave my kids anywhere.
Right.
But the problem is with this over dramatization. I was telling Brad about this, and it's a good. So you would think like an NIH, like when you look up gun violence, right? A lot of people do papers on gun violence and things like that, right? And when you go to look up your source material, right, when you're going to write a paper, your thoughts, and you want to substantiate that with real data, right, you would go find a source, and then you would source where you got that from at the end of your paper, right? That's like high school, writing a report, that's You have to do that. You get marked down or fail for not citing your sources. Otherwise, it's plagiarism, right? Like
Yeah.
So the source for this is an NIH government study. Okay. And in this study, they're talking about gun violence and all of these mass shootings and anytime gun violence has happened. Well, in this study, see, we're in the gun oil business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about our gun oil and how it lubricates things. Well, in this study, they refer to automatic weapons. But further down,
Yeah.
they define their definition of an automatic weapon, which is any semi-automatic gun. Now, for our viewers, if you do or don't know, automatic versus semi-auto. Automatic, I have some sort of machine gun
Right.
holding in my hands, and I pull the trigger one time, more than one bullet fires.
Yeah.
Whether it be 3-round burst,
Right.
or it just keeps firing till the container holding the ammunition is empty. One trigger pull, more than one bullet.
Right.
Semi-auto, for those of you that don't know, you pull the trigger, one bullet fires.
Yeah.
That's what semi-auto is. You pull the trigger, one bullet fires.
Yeah.
Now there is binary triggers where you release the trigger and a bullet fires. But that is a trigger movement. That's not more than one fire for one trigger pull.
Yeah.
Actuate the trigger off, one bullet goes. That's still semi-auto. Okay? This says automatic weapons, any semi-automatic gun.
Yeah.
Now, we've already done the definition with the difference in automatic weapons.
Right.
This is an NIH Gov
Yeah.
gun violence report by 5 people that were paid by the NIH to write an official report with a .gov site.
How many of those people do you think had actually fired a gun? Those authors?
I don't care. They should at least be able to read the dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so on that point, what if a bunch of gun shooters decided to become a doctor and work on a human?
Yeah.
It gets worse. It gets worse. That's just the first problem. It goes on to say, semi-automatic gun that can accept a detachable ammunition magazine that has one or more additional features considered useful in a military application. Do you know what's useful in a military application?
Yeah.
A freaking flashlight.
Yeah.
It's also useful at night.
Or a trigger guard.
Yeah.
That's useful in a military application. Or if we go back to the old adage of barrel shrouds, you're not hiding the barrel, you're not burning your hand on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And okay, Troy, here's my thoughts. Like with what Danny just said, read this thing, right? If you're just a normal person reading this who doesn't know a lot about guns, Troy, you're thinking that people go into these school shootings, and we're not saying that they're not a problem, but what we're thinking is that people like 18-year-old kids are going to school shootings, going, you know, and regardless, they're killing people and it's tragic, but that's not what's happening, you know? Like, Troy, you're our FFL specialist. Can I, Bradley, go today and just get a gun that just goes, like, can I go to the store and get one?
Yeah, that shoots multiple rounds for one trigger.
Right.
Not like that. No. Those are the NFA. You have to have special registration to get those kind of guns and be an FFL dealer. As just a private citizen, no. Everything that's civilian legal is supposed to be semi-automatic or bolt action.
Can you get one, Troy?
What?
Can you get one?
Can you get one?
I would have to pay the tax stamp and everything. I'm not doing that where my current location is. I want a public location for that.
I guess my point is, like, to let people know, what would it take? Like, I can't get one. You're an FFL. What would it take for you to get one, Troy?
A lot of money, basically.
Yeah. Essentially, you would have to get a special level of an FFL to get one, which costs
Class 2
more
tax
money.
stamp.
Yeah.
Let me even go a step further. Even in the military, people think that every military dude walking around with an M4 has an automatic weapon on him.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
case. Not the case.
It's still a 3-round burst, those military ones, but it's still not fully auto.
Yeah, but you have to have authorization to even use that.
Yeah. Yeah. They want us to
You
use
can't
semi
you
more.
can't just like people think that because you're in the military you just come home and throw your guns on the couch. Like when you go to the armory, you sign out that weapon to you, and you have to turn that weapon in at the end of the day. You have to account for every single round you have.
Yes.
People think that you could just go out there and empty a mag and just be like, oh. That's not the case.
So, okay. Let's wrap up some thoughts here, because we're told that like ICE is the Gestapo, right? They're Nazis.
They're lying.
And then other
They're wrong.
people tell them that like if someone is a Nazi deserves to die. And if Alex Preddy is going out there, like Dan, you made the point, like he wasn't peaceful protesting. We have footage of him 2 weeks beforehand throwing rocks at cops and like breaking headlights. But here's the thing. If those are Nazis, he didn't do anything wrong, right? Like, shouldn't you go fully armed at a Nazi? Like, who cares? They're evil, immoral people who want to slaughter you. Like, that's the point that they make without directly saying it. And I think that's where it's like, we think about this media bias, and you can be for or against Alex Preddy. You can be for or against ICE. But everyone who uses the rhetoric to make it seem like it's this situation when it's this. And Danny, you and I were talking about this, like, Donald Trump has barely deported anyone. Like,
yeah.
There's a picture of Barack Obama putting a medal on the dude that's still in charge.
Yeah, Tom Hallman or Hallman.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, but that's because he deported like 13 million people.
Yeah.
And he got an award for it. Trump's only done both consecutive terms roughly around 2.2 million.
Right.
Right. That's even less than Joe Biden.
Go ahead, Troy.
Oh, so you're talking about like the gun ownership and whether you should show up to a protest with a gun or not. A lot of, like in Minneapolis, there's a gun store owner that has been, you call it vocal, but you're just not going to see it on mainstream media. He's saying that gun sales have ticked up by nearby residents there near Minneapolis because those people are seeing the lawlessness that is happening, and they're buying guns to protect themselves, not because they believe this whole anti-ICE, ICE is a Gestapo Nazi rhetoric, but they want to protect their families more than anything.
Right.
And so he as a business owner, as a gun store owner, is seeing pretty good sales right now.
Yeah.
And that's my second point. Like, the first point is ICE. The second point is like gun sales. People make guns look like we're going around like crazy conservative hicks, right-wing conspiracy theorists going around holding it up like normal, nice, like the normal, nice liberal person, or like the Latino in Chicago is like walking around, when it's like a crazy white, MAGA hatted guy is going around like shooting up people with their fully automatic, which actually isn't automatic, weapons. And it just like kind of distorts the image. And I don't blame people as much as I used to probably 5 years ago. I don't blame people for thinking what they think about, whether it's like people like us three or someone like Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump's a bad person when you think he's essentially a Nazi, right? Like, if he is a Nazi, then yes, he's bad. But if you look at the numbers, he's deported less people than Joe Biden. He's deported less people than Obama.
also, when drawing your conclusions, it's important, there's an old saying, apples to apples, right?
Right.
Because an apple is not a citrus fruit, right?
Nope.
Somebody the other day was like, did you see that the Epstein files got released after we refused to invade Iran for Israel? And I was like, I mean, those two things might have happened at the same time, but
Yeah.
what's to say that they're, related? Because I looked at that release, like I didn't read through all of it, but I looked, if you read the disclaimer, it says contains real and
Yeah.
fake evidence.
Yeah.
So they released a report with fake evidence in it just to sway people's opinions. Now, whatever the evidence is, real or not, you should not extort people. You shouldn't. You just shouldn't do that.
Illegal.
Right?
Extortion's illegal.
Not even, I'm just saying that the people that are on that list that did the real actual crimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. I'm just saying, why as a government would you have these things out there that are even wrongly defined, as well as release reports that implicate everyone? Because let's say that the damage is so great you can't remove 2/3 of the government. If 2/3 of the government
Right.
are involved with Epstein, like, just it's all so bad you can't do anything about it, so you do nothing about it. That is more terrifying than the actual truth of the report they released.
Yeah.
Like, it's all bad.
It is, and I think that like maybe that could be another topic is the Epstein reports in itself. That'd be like a series of 10 podcasts.
Yeah, you could start your own individual podcast on just that one topic.
I was looking up some numbers just to go along with your points of like who had the most immigration removals, and essentially we didn't have really big immigration removal numbers until the late 90s with Clinton. Bush went down and then ticked up a little bit, and they skyrocketed during Obama's terms. And if you think about it, Obama did some pretty conservative stuff, like with immigration removal and like tight borders. And Trump, the actual immigration numbers of removals actually dropped year to year with Trump. The first term.
Drastically.
Yeah. And some people who really supported Donald Trump his first term, and I'll just give this one example, Ann Coulter wrote a book on Donald Trump because Donald Trump talked about building a wall, right? Building a wall. And people loved that idea. Whether you love it or not, people loved it at the time. He didn't do that. He was not very closed borders his first term. He was very liberal, and I don't even know if you could call it liberal, but he was very open, not open borders, but...
I would call it progressive more than liberal.
Sure. But he didn't tighten immigration his whole 4 terms. In fact, he had a looser immigration than Obama did. And then things kind of got out of hand with Biden. I was talking to this lawyer who worked in Aurora, Colorado, and you guys have probably heard the stories of Aurora, right? Where like Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment buildings. Troy, I remember you telling, I was going to a gun show and I was like, you're like, where is it? I'm like, in Aurora, and you're like, be safe. Anyways, people talk about Aurora and they have a huge like immigration center there, and essentially all day long they process immigration. And essentially what happened is people talked about like the open border. Essentially what happened is they let everyone in under the guidelines of just claim refugee status. Essentially, they said you can just claim to be a refugee and we'll let you in. Because there's nothing wrong with coming into a country if they have an open refugee standpoint, right?
Policy, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what they said. It was kind of like a legal loophole. So when you hear like these numbers of 13 or 23 million coming in during the Biden administration, that's because they were all refugee status. The problem is people think that's a good thing, right? The problem is they then have to go to court And if they can't prove they're refugees, you then get kicked back out. So while we think we're being empathetic, we're actually A, hurting American citizens, B, hurting legal immigrants, and C, hurting these people by taking them in, deporting them, taking them in, deporting them. That's not a good positive thing. And I think
No.
that bias comes from overusing our empathy sensors as Americans. So that's my final thoughts. Troy, what are your final thoughts? Then we'll go to you, Dan.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's very empathetic. The media gets emotional. Try and get our emotions tied up into it, and because emotions sell. That's what Hollywood is.
Yeah.
Every single story they make, it's got some sort of emotional component to it. But that immigration thing, especially going in and detaining criminal illegal immigrant, that's not an American crisis. It's not an American issue. It is happening across the world, especially in Western democratic nations. There are videos throughout Europe, Germany, and the UK, and even Australia, where they're having these protests with these anti-immigrant, anti-immigration officers in those countries. So it's not just happening in the United States. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah. Dan, final thoughts?
I'll say this, that the media, by far and large, you have to understand that, like, what was it? So I remember when CNN started broadcasting 24 hours a day with the Iraq conflict, the first time around, Desert Storm, right? And Troy, you're old enough, I think, to remember. Maybe you can, Bradley, but it was pretty close to when you were born, like 91, 94 time frame.
Yeah.
They had to be classified as entertainment, not news, because nobody had 24-hour news coverage, not even during Vietnam. TVs went offline at a certain time at night, right? So there's some interesting things to look up. I'll end with this. To understand how to get empathy, to get people out of whack, you have to understand what you're ingesting through the media. Operation Mockingbird is a great thing to look up. Controlling a populace through something that they watch all of the time it's a really good format to use to suggest to people things that they should do, especially if it's going to be on 24 hours a day. Like if you go to any CNN and different news things used to be on in every waiting room on military installations around the world, even through the AFN network. And if you're constantly ingesting this one source of information, it would be really easy to sway someone's opinion on it and their understanding, especially if you're only getting it from one source. That's why it's so important to take an understanding of all of the media and information that you're ingesting at any given time and bump that up against a standard like reality.
Sure.
Right? With Christians, people say, like, I hear like, oh, well, they just judge you, right? When really a lot of the Christians I meet are just trying to be better today than they were yesterday. Sure. Right? They're not judging you, but just how jealousy works, right? If you have a faster car than mine, maybe I want a faster car. So then, therefore, I want your car, and then I start to think that you're bad because I want the thing that you have.
Yeah.
Right? If we would all, stay in our own lane and try to just be better than we were yesterday, we'd be far better off. And, being spurred to go out there and fight a legal issue with a gun, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Dan, on that note, that brings up a point. A lot of those companies, they have a paywall. You have to pay to get access to their reports. And not everyone's going to pay for all of the sources, right? So then they end up paying for one, maybe two different locations or sources of news. and they get the same kind of repeating type of an echo chamber. It just amplifies the ideas because it comes from the same writers with the same
Yeah.
biases.
Yeah.
And that's also an issue going, getting where you're getting your news from too.
Oh, and that goes like that's a good point, Troy. And with your point, Dan, like I used to read the Wall Street Journal all the time. In fact, I would pay for like who pays for newspapers anymore, right? I would pay for them and I would read them and I would get like the newspaper, the weekly newspaper in the mail. And like this isn't like years ago. This was like as of a few months ago, or let's say a year ago. The problem is once Donald Trump got elected, all they talked about was Donald Trump, tariffs, how they hated Donald Trump.
Yeah, orange man bad.
Yeah, and I'm not like a huge Donald Trump advocate, but I don't just want to read about Donald Trump and why he's wrong. And that's
there's other stuff going on out there in the world. I don't know if they know that or not.
And that's all opinion piece and not fact.
Right. And for me, the Wall Street Journal used to be like this good thing, especially if you liked financial stuff and how to make connections to Wall Street and the economy. But all it was Wall Street Journal talking about Orange Man bad. And I'm like, I canceled my subscription, not because I love Donald Trump, but because I don't want to hear about him every
Because you wanted to hear about Wall Street, not Trump.
Yeah. And so to go with your point, like a lot of people get their news from social media. Like a lot of it's TikTok, like if we were having this conversation 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, maybe I'd say Facebook, but a lot of it's TikTok now. Right. And TikTok is just people like you and me talking to the camera, which is fine. But then it's like, well,
it's opinion based, not fact based.
And so we're all stuck in these same point of views.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any last thoughts, boys?
Yeah. So Mark Twain had made a comment about this 150 years ago, talking about the newspaper. What do you say? If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you're misinformed.
You're uninformed. Yeah, misinformed.
Yeah. And so it's again, this is not a new phenomenon. Misleading media narratives. It's just the delivery methods have gotten better. From the newspaper to video and radio and social media.
Yeah.
But the media is still the media, and it's been misleading for generations.
Yeah,
that's why I mentioned Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah,
that's a good read.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and audience, thanks for listening to us crazy three guys talk about our thoughts and taking your time to listen to us. If you have a gun or you need a gun that needs cleaning or lubrication, which is if you have a gun, go to Sasquatch Gun Oil. Troy's showing it right here. It's the best oil for cleaning, lubricating, taking care of your guns in a long term. And it even helps with little things that you might use WD-40 around your house. A squeaky door could help with that. Little things like that. Maybe some garden tools could help clean with that. So that's
just don't put WD-40 on your gun.
You're right. Don't. Yes. That's all we got today. I'm Bradley. We got Troy. We got Dan, aka Benjamin. We're out of here. See ya.
Bye.
Have a good day.